Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Chronicles with us, the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
My name's Nick.
And this week, do you remember the last time Arsenal beat us 3-0 in the league? We went on to lift the treble that season. United chat coming up next. First show then in 2 weeks, so why not start with a positive? Everyone goes on about how negative we always are. So there you go. We lifted the treble last time Arsenal beat us 3-0 in the league.
I know why you left that out of the show notes now.
At least it wasn't as cheesy as previous ones.
I'll
They're
try.
like a bag of Wotsits usually.
I'm joined in the studio, as always, by Nick to my left and producer Joe through the glass.
Hello.
And we're going to try and be positive where we can tonight. So let's start with the positive. Since we were last on air, of course, two good results. We beat Sunderland 3-0 in a game that we had to win and did. And we also won against Wolfsburg 2-1. We did. Job done in both games, I think. But there were warning signs, Joe. There's your positivity out the way. I'm going to start with you this week, Joe. Arsenal 3, United 0. And were there signs early doors from Van Gaal of problems to come? He mentioned about the players being tired. What did you read into that?
Oh, we knew we were going to lose as soon as he said that, didn't we? It was obvious. It was always going to happen. And no, I do think that there was two positives. And should that outweigh the negatives? Yes, on this occasion, because again, you see a tired squad. And against a team that clearly is found a bit of form. But as we know, Arsenal always do find a bit of form all the way to Christmas. Then it's Wenger out from then on. So it was bound to happen that we're going to lose, but it'll be different when they come to Old Trafford.
Now, Nick, Joe touches upon the signs of squad depth rearing its ugly head. Did you put the game down to that, the defeat? Was it simply, LVG says players are tired, it's a poor excuse. But is it a sign that United did not invest in squad depth enough across the pitch?
No.
What do you put it down to?
My personal opinion, I think Van Gaal got his starting 11 completely wrong. I think he got his tactics completely wrong. I think he underestimated Arsenal's pace, especially on the break. You can't talk about fatigue this early into a season. If we're fatigued now, then that's dangerous. We've got a young squad. We've got young players. You know, they play football for a living.
Well, he gave Wenger's team talk for him before the game, didn't he? He was go and hit them straight away, go and hit them with on the break, and as soon as we go out on the pitch, let's hit them, because if they're a tired, fatigued squad, let's go and hit them. And that's exactly what they did.
What it was a case of one manager getting his game plan completely spot on 100% and one manager getting his game plan completely wrong 100%. It was two opposites attract, and we got absolutely mauled in the first 20 minutes. And what really bugged me about it was the first and second goal you couldn't really do a lot about because they were so close together, but there was a good 10, maybe 15 minutes between the second and the third goal when Sanchez scored the third. He still sat there knowing that we were getting battered instead of actually getting up and doing something.
I think this is where it comes from. It comes with what squad he picked, and I think it's kind of the why were they picked, and if he's blaming it on tiredness, then what other excuses has he got for leaving some of these good players on? Yeah, exactly. But he said it before the game, it was already a defeat. I said to Andy, I sent a message saying, "Well, that means we've lost then." So we're going to lose. I said 2-0. I was a goal wrong, but
the third goal effectively killed the game. But like I just said a minute ago, why didn't he do anything between the second and the third goal? Why didn't he change the shape? Why did he let us get battered and attacked so much by an opposition and just sat there looking at his pen?
I genuinely think, though, the squad depth issue did lead to problems with the starting lineup
in
the first place, Nick.
Yeah.
You see Young playing at left-back. He's not comfortable there. He's done a job for us, as he will do. But against the bigger and better teams, which Arsenal still are, they're still going to be up there challenging for the title. We don't really have any options at left-back anymore with Shaw out. It's sad to say, but that's the way it is. And also, we don't really have any other options at centre-back. We're going to keep this one brief because I already know what Joe's going to say. But when things go wrong for Daley Blind, you've got a Phil Jones who's injury-prone and constantly out, and you've got Marcus Rojo unfit.
Who doesn't get on with Van Gaal.
And doesn't get on with Van Gaal for whatever reason. So against a team where you're struggling against pace and power, which Arsenal had both in abundance, mainly through Alexis Sanchez, it has to be said, was there an argument, even with the shortness of depth in the squad, Joe, that maybe there was an argument for Valencia to start against Sanchez? Darmian struggled for the first time. He did have a very poor game. and he was caught at a number of occasions due to strength.
Sanchez has just come out from scoring a hat-trick the last game, so we had to be cautious of what he can do. He's clearly a player who's got a bit of form, and he was going to use it against us. So, I mean, that confidence makes it easier for them to score goals, and it was a good goal that he scored, to be fair.
Oh, it's an unbelievable strike, but would Valencia's strength have dealt with that better?
No, because you watch Sanchez's runs, and you watch where he goes with them. He played much more central, so it kind of took Darmian out the game, because there was no one for Darmian to put a challenge in for, because Sanchez was playing a central role.
Sanchez, don't take anything away from him. He's a brilliant player, and he'd give any right back in the world a tough time. Darmian, to be fair to him, he started really well in England, and I want to defend him a bit. He got taken off, but he didn't get any protection whatsoever from the people in front of him.
Where did Sanchez score his goals, though? Think about it. He scored on the left of the pitch for his first one,
and he scored
in the
middle
centre of the pitch
after going through about 3 of our players.
So, I mean, is this not the whole defence's problem? I know Darmian had a terrible time with him, but did Valencia make much difference when he came on?
Darmian was up against the best player on the pitch, like you said earlier. So he was up against it from the start. He didn't get protection from other teammates. So similarly to what the Chelsea problems have now, they're not protecting each other.
Juan Mata was one of those problems, though.
Yeah, he doesn't track back. He knows that. He's not a right winger. He's been doing us a really good job there. But I'm not going to judge Darmian on that game. I still think he's got a brilliant future at United.
He absolutely has, and it was a big game to be thrown in early doors. Probably one of the bigger ones he's played. Probably against one of the better opponents he had in his opposite number. That he played against, but like you say, no help from Mata. Again, probably down to the team shape overall. But I want to get onto another issue. It's a big issue for me, Nick. I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay.
Why did Louis van Gaal not learn from last year's game against Arsenal at the Emirates? And what I mean by that is, we both sat and watched it last season, and David De Gea, time and again, deflected with his hands, with his legs and feet, numerous shots from Arsenal that on another day could have easily gone in. He kept us in the game. Without him, we would have certainly lost, and we might have been 2-3-0 down after 20 minutes in last season's game. So why is it Louis van Gaal sees that game? Everyone knows the blueprint of how to play and beat Arsenal at the Emirates.
Counter-attacking football.
Exactly. Why did he not do that?
Stubbornness, ego, naivety. You can put it down to a lot of things. At the end of the day, he's won a lot of trophies. He has a lot of success doing what he wants to do. I don't like his arrogance. I find him very arrogant, very stubborn, and that is, it's quite an admiring character in some managers. I used to love it when Fergie was arrogant, but Fergie could back it up in the Premier League, and as of yet, he hasn't backed it up in the Premier League.
I think that's unfair. I've got to be. I think that the problem lies in the squad selection.
Oh no, he's unbelievably arrogant.
Maybe, but at the same time, you look at players on the pitch, and who's our pace in the middle to hit them on the counter? Schweinsteiger and Carrick.
Who put the team out there though?
Well, I know LVG.
And
I think
who had an entire summer and apparently a lot of funds to get players in, but didn't.
Well, I mean, that's looking back and saying if what. But could we have won something with different players? But this is our squad, and you got to think Schneiderlin's got to be better than any of them two on the pitch at the time. And also, can we hit people at Arsenal on the break? Could we? Do you think it would have been possible for players like Schweinsteiger and to drive that team forward and hit us?
If you look at our squad right now and compare it to Arsenal's, in terms of just based off pace, they have Walcott, Sanchez, Bellerin.
Exactly. So we're never going to beat them on the break.
Joel Campbell. That's 5 players who are all very quick. They've got what's his name, Santi Cazorla, who isn't quick, who isn't slow. He's quite fast off the mark. The only genuine pace.
You are justifying my point by saying that there's no chance that United could have.
This is down to the manager, though. It's not. This is what I mean. It's down to Van Gaal. But the only pace that we have in our entire squad, arguably, is Valencia, who barely plays, Martial and Memphis. That is really the only pace we have in an entire squad.
And a Wayne Rooney in form, perhaps.
And maybe Luke Shaw if he didn't have a horrific leg break. But
I mean, when you look at it, though, it came down to too big a gap, Joe, between the defence and midfield, and that was due to the high press that seemed to be put into place partly by Van Gaal and then partly in his post-match interview down to Schweinsteiger, apparently. Pressing too high in the first half.
Just didn't read the game, and it was. I didn't say it last week. I said it in the car up on the way, and I think that Schweinsteiger he's not good for United.
I disagree with you on Schweinsteiger. I think this has been really harsh.
bad signing for United. Yes, he's won. Don't even start that. He's won this. He's won
I'm
that.
not going to mention anything.
That's just ridiculous to say that, because what can he do?
Just let me. If you look at the Arsenal game, he's played the last 3 or 4 matches with Morgan Schneidlin, who is a lot more agile, a lot more mobile than Michael Carrick. Schweinsteiger played the exact same way in the Arsenal game as he has done in previous matches. The problem is, it wasn't Schneidlin next to him, it was Michael Carrick, who doesn't get around the pitch. That's why we were a lot more exposed. It wasn't anything to do with Schweinsteiger. He was high pressing against Wolfsburg at home. He was high pressing against Sunderland. He was high pressing against.
But this is not Arsenal.
It's not.
This is not. I mean, Wolfsburg.
With all due respect to Wolfsburg, they're a very, very quick team as well.
Exactly. No, I was about to say that Wolfsburg, yes, could match up,
if
but
you
we were
put
playing
Michael
him at
Carrick
home.
next to him, he doesn't realise that you've got to cover more ground with Carrick next to him. You do not put them two together in the first place.
He looked like a lost puppy on the pitch. I've never seen such a ridiculous. I felt like it was 10 men and Schweinsteiger. I felt like there was no connection between Schweinsteiger and the rest of the team. He was playing for himself. He wasn't playing for the team.
What's your thoughts, Andy?
I think the problem was you can't play Carrick and Schweinsteiger together in a game like that.
He shouldn't be playing Schweinsteiger at all. I think he should be sat on the bench.
I think that's incredibly cruel.
I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, look, he's won this, he's won that." But at United, what's he going to do? He's not.
We're not mentioning that at all.
He's always admired the English game because he doesn't understand it. He can't play in the English league because he just can't work out what you have to do. I don't think you can say that after
10 games. But can you understand? Can you respect the point that he played the exact same way he played with Schneidlin, but Schneidlin's a lot more mobile than Carrick is.
Sure, I felt like he was a lost puppy. Like I said, I don't think he played. I don't think he's been that lost in a game.
I think he was left overly exposed by a very incapacitated Carrick.
That's my personal opinion. He shouldn't have been on the pitch at all.
I just think you choose your midfield for this game, and why Morgan Schneiderlin, more to the
First
point,
name on the team sheet.
was not in that team is farcical. Why you sit him on the bench in a game like that where you know
if that was David Moyes?
Pace. Yeah. Oh, it'd be all over the press.
Moyes out, yeah.
Yeah, Moyes out, Schneiderlin left on the bench. What a poor decision. And yes, it was an awful decision.
No, are we like Schweinsteiger, we're saying Louis van Gaal. Well, look what he's won. Let's leave him in the squad.
Anyone saying that
with our United
anyone
fans
saying
at the
that
moment.
it's an invalid point. I get what you're saying, but Schweinsteiger came in unfit from Bayern Munich. He suffered with injuries last couple of seasons.
When has Schweinsteiger ever looked fit? Tell me an occasion he's not looked like that. Tell me
when he was holding up the World Cup.
Tell me a year he did not have that same body shape.
How many years do you want me to talk about at Bayern Munich, first of all? The last couple he's been affected by injury, but he has been absolutely incredible
in the last few years, when has Schweinsteiger not looked in that same shape?
He won the treble 3 seasons ago.
He looked slow and tired, and he's always had the same...
Joe, I understand what you're saying, but what I think we should do instead then is... I think we all accept Morgan Schneiderlin should have started that game. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
I think what you have to do is between Carrick and Schweinsteiger at the moment, you have to alternate them. Yeah. You have to use them wisely because, yes, they are both getting older.
But we see what he was going for, which was the same as Liverpool. He was going for the same mentality as Liverpool. Kill the game, slow it down. Let's use our slowest players on the pitch to slow Arsenal down.
99%
but they
of
just
United
keep hitting
fans, 99% of United fans would have picked Morgan Schneiderlin.
I think no.
Van Gaal didn't pick him for pure stupidity. That's all it was.
But we thought he was stupid when he came on the pitch against Liverpool, Carrick and Schweinsteiger. We thought, what's going on here? And you saw it because all he wanted to do was kill that game straight away and then let us take control of it, and he can't do that against Arsenal because there's better players than there is in the Liverpool squad.
So you have to be more sensible and more intelligent in the game that you're playing in. At Old Trafford, there is a mentality naturally that United will control a game. Away at Arsenal at the Emirates, it's always been the way that Arsenal dominate possession. Now, they've, in the bigger games, sometimes dropped that tactic now and sometimes let the other teams be inviting them
Tell me an occasion
that
in any of our games that Schweinsteiger has been helpful to the pace of our game. Tell me once that he's contributed to the ability of our squad. He's not put a ball in the box. He's not played a pass that we think is great. At least with Carrick out.
Just off the top of my head, didn't he fed a few ball in the Bruges game to someone scored from it? Who was it that scored from that?
Well, I mean, I personally think he's been very decent in a number of games.
I thought he's been brilliant. I think this is incredible.
I think what
is he hiding in the middle of the pitch where he's getting less criticism because
I
players
think
like
Van
Carrick
Gaal is using him in a set role, which is to control the game, to dictate the tempo. of the game. You said the other week, Joe, you like it when United are in control of a game.
But when you're watching Rooney having to drop into Schweinsteiger's positions, it's embarrassing.
Well,
to see
Rooney shouldn't be there. Rooney should be concentrating on his own game, frankly, and we've discussed Wayne Rooney enough.
I'm not talking about him
but
anymore.
Schweinsteiger, for me, fulfills a certain role.
This is why I'm justifying it, because you've got players like Schweinsteiger playing for themselves, taking people like Rooney out of the game.
He's not an explosive midfielder anymore, though. Schweinsteiger is not going to get the ball and go beat a man. Not every player will do that.
This is what he's trying to do, and he's trying to push up too high, past his expectations. Now you can't expect him to be leading our team.
I think this is incredibly harsh, and I think Michael Carrick was worse than Schweinsteiger on the day, personally.
Because of Schweinsteiger?
No, not because of Schweinsteiger.
I think
because he wasn't mobile on the park, he couldn't get around, and the Arsenal midfield was too quick and too nimble.
He's just
and it left Schweinsteiger exposed.
But tell me, he's not playing for the team, is he? He's just not playing for the team. He's playing for himself.
I disagree with that.
I think you should be more sensible, Van Gaal, in terms of the way you're using your midfield. You've got plenty of midfield options, and they should be used more wisely. I don't know why he's using Carrick and Schweinsteiger in a game like that.
Carrick hadn't played for a month.
It's a strange decision. It looked like Carrick was going to be out injured, but there you go. We're going to move on and get some opinions from the fans on the game. We always ask you after the game on Twitter to give your one-line review of the game and give us a rating out of 10. Just fire through a couple of these. We've got at Sam UFC 1989. Simply says embarrassing. Couldn't even give us a rating.
0.
I don't blame him. At John C. Batty says wingers are not fullbacks in my philosophy. 4 out of 10. Could not agree more. That's exactly the point I'm making on squad depth. When you're playing wing backs who are wingers, where are you going with that? Luke Shaw goes missing due to injury, 6, 9, maybe 12 months, who knows? You've got nothing to replace him. Poor. At Cogsy666, tactically wrong, lost it in the first 20 minutes, 2 out of 10, nailed it again. And at C-Clay 1978 United says 3 out of 10 players, 1 out of 10 LVG. Another worryingly slow start and strange starting 11 against the quickest team in the Premier League. Sort it out, LVG. And Chris brings us on to the fan takeover, where next up we're going to ask who deserves the blame most. Is it Louis van Gaal or is it the players? More to come next from you on the fan takeover. So we were being positive and then feisty as ever for the United chat in the end. Some great opinions, and do let us know your opinions on Schweinsteiger, Carrick and a lot more at We Follow United on Twitter. So moving on to the fan takeover, every Monday we ask you some of the big questions surrounding Manchester United and we ask you to get involved in giving your opinion. So we're going to dive straight in with debate number 1 that we had from this week, Nick. We'll have a quick chat through this. I believe we are going to be joined by a guest on the phone shortly.
Yep.
But we mentioned there, Chris Clay, one of our regular listeners, contributors, said 3 out of 10 in terms of rating for the players, 1 out of 10 for LVG. Who deserves to blame more for the defeat? Is it LVG or is it the players?
Van Gaal. Yeah, definitely Van Gaal. Obviously, the players were awful on the day. Didn't do many favours. But no, when I saw the team, I was shocked Carrick was in there. I thought we'd get overrun. We did get overrun. I thought Arsenal's pace would expose us. It did expose us. It was a bizarre decision when I saw Schneider on the bench. I was furious, to be honest with you. That was a perfect game for him. It was the perfect game for us to showcase a 4-3-3 formation even. We could have possibly played Schneidlin, Carrick and Schweinsteiger and really fill that midfield out. It was a baffling decision from a man who's very experienced.
Argument to come on that one as well. The 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 becoming a big thing yet again, we'll discuss shortly. On the vote that we had on Twitter, 60% of the fans said LVG was more to blame than the players. So, I mean, they're agreeing with you on that, Nick.
Yeah.
And it's hard to disagree with them, really. I
said the players didn't do him any favours, but at the end of the day, they were all over the pitch trying to follow Van Gaal's game plan, and it wasn't working. That was the be-all, end-all of it. And I said earlier in the show, he didn't do anything. He just sat there, and we just got absolutely mauled. And any other manager would have been off his feet after the second goal went in, and he would have been changing it. But Van Gaal didn't, and I don't know whether it's his own ego, naivety towards the Premier League, Giggsy maybe having something into his ear.
I mean, this is an interesting thing you mentioned on Ryan Giggs, because Giggs' role supposedly is to scout on the next Premier League fixture or the next team that we're about to face. So he would have gone away and done his research on Arsenal. Now, Ryan Giggs, of all people, should know plenty about Arsenal. Played against them enough times.
50 times, yeah. So.
Why is Ryan Giggs, as the assistant manager of Manchester United, touted also, I might add, as future United manager, which is baffling at the moment?
Yeah.
Why is Ryan Giggs not getting that message back to Louis van Gaal? And if that's the case, is it Louis van Gaal not listening, or is Ryan Giggs not communicating?
Well, have you ever noticed when it pans to the where the pitch where they're sat? Louis van Gaal, he's never in deep conversation with Ryan Giggs. He's always in deep conversation with, I think it's Frans Horek, the goalkeeping coach, who's always sat towards the right to him. He's always in really deep conversation with him. I don't know if it's a Dutch-English difference. I don't understand, but I've never seen him having a really in-depth chat with Giggs during a game. He always seems to be talking to other people, and now and again he'll lean in and say something to Giggs, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, does Ryan Giggs have a role to play in this? Exactly, yeah. Is communication, wires being crossed? Is Giggs getting the message across to Louis van Gaal that he needs to? It'd be interesting to know more, be a fly in the dressing room during half-time there. But Louis van Gaal, Deepak Siani says on Twitter, has had 250 million to spend, as we well know. And we still have wingers playing at full-back, exactly. He decides the tactics of the team. Playing Carrick and Schweinsteiger in a pivot, clearly not the best idea due to the both players...
That word again, mobility.
Yep, having lack of mobility and pace. So, I mean, it's a lot of people blaming it more on the tactical side of things than it is on the players, because at the end of the day, you put the players out there, and once they cross the white line, they should be responsible for their own actions, and they should be listening to any instructions from the manager. But if those instructions are put out wrong and the team set up all wrong in the first place, you're asking for disaster before the first whistle goes, really, aren't you?
Well, it's like I said earlier, when I saw the team sheet for the Arsenal game, I was nervous. I was even more nervous when I saw Carrick starting. I was annoyed when I saw Sneijderlin on the bench, and I knew the weaknesses that we were going to be exposed under. And at the end of the day, we were exposed under them. I said weeks ago in the build-up to the Swansea game, Gomez was caused blim problems. He did cause blim problems. I said Arsenal's pace would cause United problems if we play Carrick and Schweinsteiger. He did play Carrick and Schweinsteiger, and we were caused problems. It's the same mistakes of naivety over and over again by a manager who's got 25 years' experience. It's baffling.
Absolutely, yeah, it really is surprising. And something else that surprised me afterwards as well, listening to Louis van Gaal's post-match interview after the game, I don't know if this is just me, Nick, did it feel like Louis van Gaal was trying to throw some of his players under the bus? I mean, he blamed Schweinsteiger for pushing too high forward in the first half. It felt to me like Van Gaal was trying to blame his players for what went wrong. I don't know if you saw it that way.
He's done it before. I don't think he's the best man manager, if I'm being perfectly honest. There was a comment earlier in the summer where Youngie, who was possibly one of our top 3 players last season, he said he's a decent player, but he's not Neymar. And I know it's obviously true. It's a true statement. Well, what Neymar's a world-class player, Young's not. But at the end of the day, Young plays for Man United, and you don't really want to say that because it doesn't fill him with confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it was the same story again with the Arsenal defeat. I think he was trying to protect himself and his own tactics and his own philosophy ahead of his own players' performances.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. Now, we're going to bring in a caller on the line, regular to the show, and we're glad to have him back on. And we're going to have a quick run through some of his opinions on this and a lot more as well to come. We've got Joggy on the line. Joggy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
No, pleasure as always. So, Joggy, you've just joined me and Nick in the middle of quite a debate here over who is to blame for the defeat more against Arsenal. We put it out there on Twitter. Do you blame Louis van Gaal more or the players? Now, first of all, I want to know your opinion on which of the two you blame more. And what I want to throw in there as well, Joggy, is do you think Louis van Gaal in his post-match interview was trying to throw some of his players under the bus by saying they didn't follow his instruction?
I'm a big Louis van Gaal supporter. As you know, I've always backed him on the show. But I think this time he did get the tactics quite wrong, and he's to blame for that defeat. This is the first time in a big game he has got his tactics wrong. When I was watching it, it reminded me very of the David Moyes performances against the big teams. We were getting blasted away very quickly. But some of the players in the game did go missing. Depay has been missing all season in games. He has 1 or 2 minutes here and there, but he doesn't deliver consistently. Rooney was missing. If you watch that game in the second half, Schweinsteiger is trying to organize the team, but Rooney, who's the captain, is nowhere to be seen. The manager did get it wrong, which, there's no way defending him. But at the same time, some of the players were not standing up either.
Absolutely, Joggy. Completely understand where you're coming from. If this is the case, though, Louis van Gaal, we absolutely agree on that. He did get it tactically wrong. And some of the players that he chose to put in there were wrong as well. It just didn't suit the game. But, if it's the case that Louis van Gaal is giving instruction out to the players and they're not following, you mentioned there about Memphis, you mentioned Rooney, we've talked about Schweinsteiger in terms of ability to follow out the instructions set. Is that not an admission from, if anything, from Van Gaal that he can't instruct his players to carry out, his rules, and potentially that he's lost control of the dressing room if they're not able to carry out his tasks?
No, I don't think he says that. I think it's just a one-off game. I've never seen any of his teams deliver a performance as bad as that. I think it was just that they started very quick. They caught us off guard, which the first thing. And secondly, some of our players, like I said, went totally missing in the game. And before we know it, we were too far behind. Another problem was, like we said, he started with the wrong team. When we're winning, it's all right playing Carrick. Carrick can control a game. But when we're losing and we're 2-0 down, Carrick's not the ideal player because he doesn't carry the ball forward. He's more of a passer side to side. If you look when Schweinsteiger's on, they move the ball forward, they drive the ball forward, and the team was wrong, and then the players were missing. I just think it was overall wrong from start to finish.
Can I ask you, Joggy? What did you think about, obviously, Schneidlin being left on the bench? Can you think of any reasons why LVG did that?
No, I think he just got it wrong. Honestly, I just think he just tactically got it wrong, and it's amazing to say that with somebody who's such well prepared. Even last year, we had a squad, and look how well he was prepared for games. It was just bad planning from start to finish. Some of the players just did not turn up. I think I've been saying it from the start. Memphis Depay leaves us open on the left. We haven't got a left back as it is, and then we're playing him. He just doesn't track back. He already thinks he's Maradona. So he needs to, at least Ashley Young gives you track back. Once Marcus Rojo is fit, we should play with him, and Ashley Young on the left will give us a bit of stability. Because at the moment, he's not really offering us anything going forward. He's not being the first man. He's cutting in. And then we're carrying Rooney. We're carrying two players, basically.
Well, we said on previous shows that it was looking likely that, in our personal opinion, we would have probably dropped Memphis for this game, or even possibly the Sunderland game. I think he's been poor, particularly in the Premier League, all season. I don't think he's lived up to the hype yet. I think he's finding it very difficult to adjust to the pace of the Premier League. And I think he does need a rest. He does need to be sat out a game or two. So, obviously, with Everton coming up, it's not worth the risk.
If you look at him in the press, the local, when he's been out, he's got them gold teeth in. He's really getting carried away with the whole lifestyle. He needs to calm down and needs to focus on the game, because before we don't want another hand where we overpaid for a player that's just not delivered.
Yeah.
He needs to go back to basics. But the thing is, I personally think Marcus Rojo should be fit. We should go with him and Young on the left. Young will track back, and Young will offer more than Memphis is
I'd be inclined to agree, Joggy.
Yeah, less flair, but more of a job done, I suppose, which is what's needed at the moment. Joggy, I just want to move on and focus on another area of the pitch, and perhaps somewhere else we should go back to basics as well, with you just mentioning it. The second debate that we had on Twitter this week was, should United stick with the two holding midfielders or go back to a midfield three? So in other words, 4-2-3-1 formation or 4-3-3. Now, Joggy, 100% of those that voted in this said 4-3-3, almost in a way of going back to basics. Now, where do you stand on the formation? What is the strongest of the two, in your opinion, for our squad?
I think any of them are strong as long as Wayne Rooney doesn't play. That's a big problem.
I think it's all well and good saying it after the 3-0 drumming by Arsenal. I think it's all well and good saying we should go back to 4-3-3 then. But if he would have won the Arsenal game, I think fans would have wanted to stick with 4-2-3-1.
We were very good against Southampton in the 4-2-3-1. But the thing with Arsenal was they started too quick and they caught us off guard. And then the other problem is When Carrick plays and we're losing, he doesn't drive the team. We need the midfielders driving forward. He doesn't offer that. And like we said, Schneiderlin should have played. But the thing is, if we go 4-3-3, then does Rooney play? Does Rooney not play? In 4-2-3-1, we should move Rooney out and Mata should play in 10. He's only been given one game all season at 10.
Yeah, he was given one
totally
game
agree.
audition against PSV. Didn't play particularly well
And
there.
then back out on the wing.
And then suddenly back out on the
And
wing.
then Rooney's played
forgotten
about 20 games awful there.
I mean, there's...
The thing is with Rooney, for some reason, he looks overweight to me. He just, whenever Rooney's had a big season, it's always been, when the hype's been with him, it's always been, he's had a summer, he hasn't been fit, he's carried injuries. This time round, the preparation, he's got no excuses. He's got good players around him. He's got runners around him that he can feed. But he just, in the Arsenal game, it was shocking. He was just nowhere to be seen. He looks overweight and he looks he's out of steam.
Yeah.
Well, possibly so. I mean, there's pros and cons, Joggy, to both formations. So perhaps it's about being sensible and just being a bit more aware of playing the right formation based on which team you're playing. I mean, if you play the 4-3-3, for example, that surely, in terms of positives, gives Herrera a chance to come back into the team. But then how does the front three sort of line up and function is the downside and how you figure that bit out. If you're playing the 4-2-3-1, then it's a case of which two do you play holding and who gets the number 10 role on a regular basis. Is Juan Mata going to be given that chance? That's the concern for me. I mean, Joggy, if we did go back to the 4-3-3 with the three up front, how would you line the three up front up?
I'd go Young, Marshall, and probably Mata as a front three.
Okay. Yeah.
Only reason being, ideally you'd want Young, Memphis Depay or Young on the left. You can't have Memphis, he's not good enough at the moment. So Young, ideally you'd want Rooney and Marshall as a front three. But it's just, we have to play Mata. Mata's the only one that even when we're losing, he looks like he's doing something. Rooney just doesn't do anything. I just don't understand what he's doing. At least have a shot, at least have two shots at least foul someone. Do something in the game. So you're a captain, you've got to lead the team.
I just think he's lost his intensity. He used to be aggressive.
If you look at that second half, Schweinsteiger, Schweinsteiger was totally out of the game in the first half, I get that. He was up and out, he was everywhere, he played wrong. But at least in the second half, he's trying to get the troops together. Yep. He's trying to do something. Our captain isn't doing anything.
Sadly, yeah. And the sad reality on top of that, Joggy, is Wayne Rooney is basically undroppable. I mean, we've asked this week on Twitter, did captaincy ruin Wayne Rooney? By which we mean, did the fact that more responsibility being put on his shoulders take out the intensity and the aggression from his game, which is when, in our opinion, he plays at his best? How do you stand on that side of things?
I think he's been poor for way too long. Fergie saw it coming from a way off, and that's why he bought a striker at 29. He knew this guy was finished. Rooney's always had good luck. Moyes came in, he held Moyes to ransom once again, the club, and he got what he wanted. I question what in his contract, if he's got not something like, if he's fit, he's got to play, because I can't see how a coach like Van Gaal keeps playing him. This is the same coach that was dropping Rivaldo when he's up for a Ballon d'Or, and how can he not see Rooney? He's not doing anything. He's positionally halfway through a game, he's going into midfield, who then the other midfielders are going out of position. He is causing so many issues when you watch the game. It's unbelievable.
I agree.
He needs to be dropped.
Yeah, no.
He's either moving into the left, then he's not getting the ball, he can't hold his position. He moves into midfield, then the two midfielders are thinking, where do we go? It just becomes a total mess. He can't hold his position. If you watch him against the Man City game last season when we won at home, he held his position against the two centre-backs very well. Now, he's not getting the ball, he's feeling pressurised, but at the same time, he's not looking like he's going to score. If you watch Harry Kane, it looks like Harry Kane will score. He's just in a bad run of form. When you watch Rooney, you just can't see him scoring.
Yeah. And so, Joggy, if you were to change captaincy at United, if you were to take that responsibility away from Rooney, because 50% of the fans, it's gone 50-50 to whether or not people think captaincy ruined him or not. But if you were to change captain at United, or even looking forward, who would you give the armband to looking forward?
I think if Schweinsteiger doesn't start regularly, you have to give it Chris Smalling, because he's the one that's delivering out of everybody.
Yeah,
and if Schweinsteiger starts, You have to have him as captain. He's too experienced. If you look at him, he looks like he's got an eye. He knows what he's doing. He's driving the team. People are looking up to him, and he's a proven captain at a world-class level. If he's not starting regular, Chris Smalling is delivering, and them are the only two options you've got, because the others have got no mouth on them. They just stand around and they don't look like captaincy, just like Carrick. They're not captain material. Rooney's not captain material.
Yep.
No,
Totally
I agree.
Yep.
Who'd have thought Chris Smalling being mentioned for captaincy 12 months ago, though? What a difference a year makes.
With Chris Smalling, when the pressure was on, he's delivered.
He has. You're dead right, Joggy.
He's worked on his game, and you think, okay, fair enough, you've got to give him respect. He's worked on his game. Wayne Rooney is not working on his game. You can clearly see I just can't see how Van Gaal keeps playing him. They must be kicking off in the meetings thinking, half the coaching staff must be saying, we need to drop him.
Joggy. Sorry, it's producer Joe here. I've got to step in on this one. In all 16 episodes, I've never heard such a ridiculous phone call. I'm sorry, Joggy, but it's just not. You cannot say this about your club's captain and leader of the squad for so many years and the most passionate player we've ever had at United.
I agree with him, Joe.
I can't.
You've got to remember, we've got to look at it from realistically.
Who are you putting there, Matt?
The team, anything.
You putting a bunch of the rest of the squad. Who are you going to put there? Mata, and
I'd rather have Mata there.
Is he going to lead the squad to glory? No. Is anyone other than Rooney going to step it up once he's back in form? Are we waiting for something big from Rooney? Yes, we are. Oh, is it worth dropping him? Is it really worth the risk of dropping Rooney? Just answer that question.
He's not offering anything to the team. How many shots has he had in the last 3 games? 0. He doesn't offer anything. When we were down against Arsenal, the biggest game of the season, we could have gone top. The captain has to stand up. The captain has to lead the team.
I hope
when the chips are down, he has to get the troops together. He's nowhere in the game.
I hope he doesn't play one game, just to show you the effect that Rooney does have on the game.
We beat Liverpool 3-1 at home, mate.
Yeah, but did we look like we were leading? Did we look in control of the game?
We look very good.
I do not think that dropping Rooney is a good choice. I do not think that you drop your captain, you take away the morale in the dressing room.
It'd be interesting to see how many United fans would drop him now, because I certainly would.
We're looking at the wrong people here. It's just ridiculous to be looking at the one player on the pitch.
You can go to a 4-3-3. You can move Mata into 10. Vieira comes into the team that gives you space in the middle of the field. That's what we were lacking. It gives Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin to hold back. It gives you more flow. He doesn't offer anything to the team. He's got a better team. Marshall looks more threatening than him. Yeah,
you're dead right, he does. I'm going to move this on because, I mean, it's a great debate and both of you have valid points, and this is what the show is all about. This is why we do this. People are supposed to have opinions, and it's good to get them out. It's good to hear different side of it. If everyone just agreed and were sheep, then you might as well just throw this whole show away. That's what we're all about. Passionate opinion, and great to hear both sides. I personally fall on your side at the moment, Joggy. Whether Wayne Rooney picks his game up, I hope he does, because we've all seen what Wayne Rooney at his best can do. But what I want to know your opinion on to finish the fan takeover for this week, Joggy, is will Manchester United win the league? We asked this question before the Sunderland game. We asked it again after the Arsenal game. And 2/3 of fans on both occasions said no. So, I mean, it's good that at least one heavy defeat hasn't influenced the fans' opinions that much. Where do you fall, Joggy? Are we going to be there? Do we have the ambitions to win this league?
We will be there, but we won't win it.
There you go.
We'll be in contention, we won't win it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough.
Agree with that as well.
What do you think, though, Joggy, we're lacking to be considered more serious contenders then?
What other team is a more serious contender? Sorry, did you say?
Sorry, what are we lacking as a club that could make us more serious contenders for this title?
I just think I just think the team needs to spend another season together, the squad, and once they're together, I think we'll be fine. I just think it's too many new players to expect us to hit the ground running.
So let's take Rooney out and then put another new player in. Good, great. This is why.
And to be honest, until we don't go 4-3-3. We're not attacking enough. When we're losing, I just can't see us. To be honest, now, if you look at the Man City game against West Ham, if you look at that last 20 minutes, it reminded me of the old Fergie's United. Just throw everything at it. Until we don't really get down that, I can't really see us winning the league.
Will Rooney not be able to bring that fighting spirit into the squad?
No.
I hope he does. I'm a big Rooney fan. I'm not against Rooney.
I think this is a thing you're getting mixed up, Joe. No one is not a fan of Wayne Rooney here. As we'll discuss in the shootout.
This season have been poor.
To take him out of the squad, though, you take away the passion of that player.
Where is his passion
He's not
currently?
offering any passion though.
He's not doing anything in the game. He's not had one shot yet.
He's not. He's not made it.
Is
if
it-
I look at
I
that
think
game
we're
on
forgetting
Sunday,
where
he
he's
should
playing.
have at least done a tackle. He's not done anything. Shout out for one at least. Get somebody in position.
Yeah, I agree.
Great to hear your
Wait,
opinions,
he didn't
Joggy.
look at- No problem. Thank you,
Excellent.
guys.
It's been brilliant. It's been passionate. There's been full of valid points from both sides, and it's great to hear both sides of the argument. As I say, Joggy, thanks for joining us. Hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, Joggy. And coming up next, you've heard what the fans have had to say via Twitter. You've heard what producer Joe has had to say. Now producer Joe's going to put us under the microscope and ask me and Nick some of the big questions in the shootout. Well, there you go. What can you say about that? What an impassioned fan takeover.
That was heated. That
Very.
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
I mean,
to be fair.
if you've got to be frightened to come on and say your opinion, then don't come on and say your opinion. If it makes you a plastic fan, then throw me in the blue recycling bin now, because we're here to say what we want to say. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. Give us your valid reasons why you disagree with it. Absolutely not a problem. I agree with what a lot of Joggy said. I don't see the problem. I understand, Joe.
Everything.
I understand, Joe, what
No,
you're saying
don't-
about Rooney, but we're all big fans of Wayne
Don't get
Rooney.
me wrong on this one. I do see the aggravation from the fans, and I do see a few poor performances. But at the same time, his leadership quality in the squad, I do think that. Anyway, well, let's move on to the fan takeover.
Can he not be a leader on and off the pitch though? Does he have to play every single game? Because he's
But
been poor.
What do you want? Do you want to take the armband off him for a game and let him play without it and see what
I just
happens?
think we played better against Liverpool and he wasn't in the team
So what's your solution? Just drop him.
for a few games, yeah, and Memphis, because they're not offering anything. Like Joggy was saying, they don't bring anything to the match.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna throw this to our first question. Andy, you just give the lead up to this. and
Okay, I'm going to get straight delving into this. So, for those of you new to the show, the shootout essentially it's a just a question and answer section really for me and Nick. The twist is producer Joe gives us 30 seconds on the clock, which is all we have to answer the 4 questions that he has for us. We then have one that we fire back at Joe and you, the fans, that you'll see on Twitter and below in the link on the video, which you can comment your answers to. Because, of course, Joe, it can't be a shootout without 5.
Thanks, Andy.
Catchphrase done. You've got 4 questions, Joe. You fire away as you will.
So, Nick, it's for you again this week, the first one. And keeping this heated debate going. Left me a bit shell-shocked like the United game. But how did the Wayne Rooney documentary on BBC One on Monday night leave you feeling?
Sentimental, like most United fans at first, but yeah, realistically, it left me with a few questions and answers. We saw a lot of clips of Rooney's old goals from 4, 5, 6 years ago, but I asked, like, what's happened? Where's the Wayne Rooney that we used to have? He's nearing 30 now, so is he going to get better than what he was? Nope, I think he's just going to get worse. It's a great player. I still think he's got a lot to offer to the team, obviously, of his captain qualities on and off the pitch. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to challenge with him leading the line.
There you go. Well, let's reopen another bottle of Wayne Rooney debate for Joe.
To get Joggy back on.
So I think I agree with what Nick has to say in terms of that sentimental and almost sad feeling watching that documentary.
It was annoying as well.
It was
watching all these
irritating.
wonderful goals that he used to score for us, and he's not done it for 2 or 3 years.
What
now.
an incredible player to end up for the last couple of years doing what he has, or rather hasn't done at the club. It's infuriating in some respects.
90% of the clips were pre-2012.
Oh yeah, they were.
That's how embarrassing it was.
But he was such a sensational player when he burst onto the scene and was consistently for 5, 6, maybe even 7 years.
Yep.
Maybe that's what causes the frustration, Joe, between ourselves and between fans, that after such, a long and industrious career, doing such a good job at United for years, carrying the club, touching world class on more than one occasion, being a sensational player, and for me, will always be a Manchester United legend when he retires, regardless of the outside stories off the pitch.
I think
Upsets me to see.
I think we're forgetting that this player he's only 29 and he has been through goal droughts before, and he has been through poor performances before. Maybe this stint being his longest, but you watch how he bounced back the last times. He has been a stunning player. He scored a hat-trick in the Champions League. He's just an absolutely incredible player, and I do not think that it's worth the risk to take out a player such as of his quality. I just think it'd be a shame to take our leader out the squad. And I think that the one thing when I watch United, I think of Rooney. When you think of United at the moment, you think of Wayne Rooney because he is a club legend. And you look at the pitch and you see him, you see his influence, and that player is one of the most passionate players we have got. And I think it'd be wrong to take the passion out of our game.
I'm not talking about the goal drought, Joe. What I'm saying is he's not been good. He's not been the Rooney of old since pre-2012.
But
he's not scored. I know you're going to throw at me. He's worked out of position. He's played under different managers. He's not adapted. He's not got any better. No, he's played out of position a lot. I understand that argument.
No, not. I'm saying you look at the players that have been around him for this time and the quality they've provided for him.
Yeah,
he's worked hard for every single one of them players, and we've just
he's not been good so far this season. He wasn't great last year. He wasn't great the season before that under Moyes. He wasn't great in Fergie's last season. Those are 3 to 4 seasons now that he's not been very good. But he's on £300,000 a week.
I think if you put Lewandowski in this squad, he'd be as poor as
If
Rooney.
we sign Lewandowski, Rooney wouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11.
I think they look as poor as Rooney because it's the link-up that's missing. There is no team cohesion between them.
Has that been the same since 2012, has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the problem is, Joe, you mentioned about the passion, which is something that United fans and myself alike have always loved about Wayne Rooney's game. I mean, do you not think in recent times it seemed like Wayne Rooney's passion has been diminishing?
I wouldn't say his passion's been diminishing. I'd say the only thing the point I raise is that the players are not. They're not one team anymore. It does not seem like they're playing for the team. It seems like we've got a lot of individuals on the pitch.
I agree with that. It is a group of individuals at the moment. That's how it sort of sits.
And I do think we've had that problem for the past 3 years, and I don't see why we haven't rectified it. I think that since Ferguson left, we've not been able to drag a performance out of the team. It seems to be it's kind of groups of players rather than a team. You've got groups of players. You've got the
almost like cliques.
Yeah,
yeah. It's strange, isn't it?
But we see it as fans, which is, I mean, we know that De Gea, Mata, Herrera. We know it. We shouldn't know that.
No, you're right.
So this is part of the problem. I think that we need to start breaking down them barriers and gelling them as a team again.
Okay, there you go. Question 1's out the way then, and I think at this stage in proceedings we should put the lid back on the can of the Wayne Rooney debate and maybe just store that on the top shelf just for a couple of weeks. Joe, let's move on to question 2 as calm is restored in the studio.
So Andy, this one is for you. You've taken me. Usually I bring myself into it, but for once you've had to take me off topic. So United's remaining league fixtures for October are Everton away, City at home and Palace away. How many points do you see United getting from these games?
This is going to be difficult, isn't it? I mean, this is the run that we've all been worried about. And this is one we said would make or break our season and really tell us where we are at the moment. The worrying thing is, for me, when I look at those 3 games on paper, I don't know. I see 4 points maybe at best. I can't see us getting more than that. And to be honest with you, I think getting 4 points out of those games with the way we've been playing of late could be quite an achievement. So for me, 4 out of the 9.
It could go one of 2 ways, that run of games.
It could be a disaster or it could galvanise us.
We could win all 3 after the Arsenal result. You know, like last season, those 5 games that saved our season.
Exactly. This is the time of year again. It's come a lot earlier, but this is the galvanise or die part of the season.
We could get beat by Everton, get beat by City, and then draw at Palace. You know, it could really be disastrous.
Could even get beaten in all 3, really.
Exactly. It could be horrendous.
They're all difficult games. I mean, Joe, where do you sort of sit on this one? Because, of those 4 points that I'm suggesting, I think we get, I'm looking at
draw Everton,
potentially
a win at Crystal Palace.
I'm looking at a win at Palace and a draw at one of those 2. I'm hoping more so City at home in a way. I do not want us to get beat at Old Trafford, especially after the 4-2 last season. I do not want to see us in reverse against City again.
Do you know what? Like you say, I think this run of games can go one of 2 ways. And I do think that maybe Arsenal's a good thing for the squad in one way, that we've been hit hard and now we know what we need to do to pick ourselves up, and we know what we need to do against these bigger squads. Rather than be gullible to the fact that we weren't good enough against them, at least we know that now. So rather than going to another big run of games in that same position, I think it's good for the squad that we did maybe get a bit of we've kind of realised what the issues are, and we need to work on them. And I think they've got a chance to do that now.
Maybe if you get rid of, if these games galvanise the team, as I say, if you get the 3 wins out of 3, if that does happen, maybe the whole cliquey situation that we've just mentioned, maybe that goes out the way. Maybe the team sort of comes together a bit more as a unit and maybe builds together for the season rather than building individually or as groups of 2 and 3, which is probably part of the problem we have at the moment.
I think you're always going to have cliques.
Of course you are, yeah.
Every team will have them. Countrymen will be with countrymen. Friends will be with friends. But as long as the team's a team,
you don't feel team unity in the same way you used to, though, do you, Nick? When you see that team lining up, sometimes it looks like a group of individuals rather than a team together.
I think a lot of it is basically there's certain players in our squad that probably think they should be starting ahead of other players.
Yeah, I think. Well, like I said, we shouldn't have known about it. Like we knew that Memphis and Shaw were a thing, and it's just as fans, you kind of want the team to be a whole unit, and I just don't see.
Which, in fairness for Wayne Rooney, I will say, because we've said a lot on him of negative wording tonight. Wayne Rooney in this captain's role, which I do like about him, has taken it very old school again, with England as well, and gets the lads together and takes them out to bond together. They go out for team meals. I like that side of things. That's the way it should be.
Well, one of the things I just wanted to throw in, obviously we've been baffled all show about the Schneiderlin decision. And I just said previously, I think certain players think they should start ahead of other players, and there'll be senior players that think they should have more power than other players. I can't help but think Michael Carrick might have had a word in LVG's ear. That's the only thing I can...
Well, this was the story, wasn't it?
That's the only thing I can imagine. A senior player's gone up to him and say, I want to play against Arsenal. Because I can't understand why you drop your arguably best midfielder.
Well, looking at the younger players in the squad, rather than the older ones, David Beckham has spoke out this week, and this one's for you, Nick. He said that...
Unbelievable link there.
He said that this week that the current youngsters have the potential to become heroes for the club.
Yep.
Like the class of 92. Can you see this happening with the current youngsters in the team?
No, not a chance. I think the class of 92 had unbelievable standout performers. They'd won everything at junior level. I'd love to know what youngsters Bex is talking about. Obviously, Memphis hasn't performed. Pereira's not been given a chance. Lingard and Wilson also in that category. Blackett's out on loan. Yanazai's out on loan. McNair's on the bench. Nick Powers, everyone remember him. Will Keane's at Preston, he's 22. Martial and Shaw really the only ones that have operated at a level even close to the 92 class yet, so I'd probably say no to Bex.
Yeah, I mean, it's an optimistic shout from David Beckham,
Is this
isn't
Beckham
it?
trying to pick the squad up?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's an outside influence.
I think that's all it could be. Yeah.
Is this a legend speaking out to try and give some form back to United and some unity, like I said?
If you look at the class of 92, they had 5 or 6, even 7 starting 11 players who were all under the age of 22, and they were senior figures in the United dressing room. We've got 1, maybe 2. So
yeah, if that, maybe it's just that call to the younger players to stick with it. I guess you will be given your chance, perhaps. What Beckham's saying, Pereira certainly will be given a chance at some stage if the season doesn't go the way it's planned, but should be given more of a chance. Martial, absolutely incredible start at 19 years old. Let's hope he continues with that. He could be a future star. Memphis, still believe could be a future star. I think he needs to practice work more on his game. Absolutely.
And I did say this, I think it was a couple of episodes back, that maybe do take him out the spotlight because we know he's missing his mate from the squad.
Yeah.
We know that he's clearly playing again for himself. And he's trying too hard to play for himself. And his friend you mentioned, Luke Shaw, is another one of those, as Nick touched upon also, that is a future star of the squad. So there are bright lights, there are bright seeds growing. Is it a squad for the future, though? Is it, or are we looking at a squad that
Louis
needs
van
investment?
Gaal has always, on his track record, built a squad, and whatever team he's left, he's always built foundations for something going forward. Now, we question to whether or not Van Gaal was thinking on that sort of level still with United in the last sort of few weeks. But when you look at some of those youngsters in the squad, Nick, it's hard to argue against the fact that 2-3 years down the line, when you've got players coming into their mid-20s like Shaw, Martial, Memphis, Pereira, players like that, they could potentially be the future of that United squad, couldn't they?
Yeah, but you mentioned Van Gaal, he's known for giving youth a chance. Out of those 4, he's only really given Martial and Shaw a chance so far. Obviously, Memphis has played but hasn't performed. I said it last week, the week before in previous shows. I think Van Gaal's in it for himself. I think he wants to go out on a high.
And I agree with that.
And I don't think you're going to see as much care towards the youngsters as he has at previous clubs, personally. That's my opinion. People will disagree. People will agree with it. I think Shaw was brilliant before the leg injury, but I think in terms of having a young squad, I think we're miles away from the class of 92 or anything near it.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll see anything like it in our lifetime again.
Looking at some of these players, Ferguson spoke out this week and said he's only coached 4 world-class players. And these players have included in the class of 92. They were Scholes, Giggs, Cantona and Ronaldo. Andy, do you agree with his opinion?
No, I do not. And Ferguson himself has backtracked on it slightly in saying that he was misinterpreted and he was talking about players that changed the game. But regardless, he put them under a world-class bracket. Now, this is always an interesting conversation to open the lid on as well. But in my opinion, there certainly were more world-class players than those 4. They certainly all were. But I would certainly look into that list and add Roy Keane. Wayne Rooney has touched it, as I say. And there are others within that crop that you could certainly class as world-class that we've had.
Ruud van Nistelrooy,
Exactly.
Nemanja Vidic, Robin van Persie.
Even Rio Ferdinand at his best would have walked into any side in the world.
I think the thing
Peter Schmeichel.
The thing that annoys me, we had a conversation a few months back about what defines world-class players, and each position has to be defined differently. Obviously, Manuel Neuer is the best goalkeeper in the world.
Is he?
I think he is personally.
Some stupid decisions, but probably in terms of talent.
I think he is the best goalkeeper. I don't think many people would disagree with me. You'd get obviously the odd City fan saying Joe Hart, but no. But
or Liverpool fans saying Mignolet.
You've got to judge
Good kicker.
You've got to judge these players differently. If you're a centre back, you're going to be judged a lot differently than Paul Scholes. If you're a midfielder, you're going to be judged a lot differently than Cristiano Ronaldo. So to say you've only coached Scholes, Giggs, Cantona, and Ronaldo, obviously they were unbelievable players. But there's obviously a lot more there. Ruud van Nistelrooy was possibly one of my favourite ever goal scorers. He was unbelievable. He was definitely world class.
He was definitely world class. And I think, in my opinion, the way I've always valued the world class bracket, which is always something I try and stay clear of, if I'm honest, because the broadness of the definition is incredible. I always put it down myself personally to, would that player step into any team in the world at that time? Would they step into the starting 11 of any team at the time that they were playing? Ruud van Nistelrooy certainly would. Peter Schmeichel, I mentioned right at the end there, he certainly would at his best. Roy Keane would. Wayne Rooney at stages. Vidic would have. I think Rio Ferdinand, as I mentioned as well. So there are players that, I mean, some of them touch it. I mean, I mentioned with Wayne Rooney, there was sort of 6 months where he perhaps touched that bracket, and then 6 months again.
But like I said,
later in his career.
Moving back, like Schweinsteiger. Yeah. You probably look back to him in the German league, and you can't argue that he would have been classed as world class
at one stage in his career.
Exactly.
Certainly.
So you take Rooney out of an English league. I don't think you probably think he doesn't touch it. He just touches it. It's because you take him out of that English league, and I probably do question his talent in a Spanish league or.
Well, the thing is, a lot of players that we do define as world class. They've not just won stuff domestically; they've won stuff on the European stage. They've won World Cups, European Cups. They've won Champions Leagues. They've won other stuff, not just won La Liga or the Premier League or Serie A.
I think this question perfectly highlights what's wrong with the club at the moment. You look at Scholes, Giggs, Cantona, Ronaldo, and we talked about players like Rooney, Ferdinand, all, like you said, game changers. And when you look at our squad now, there is no one who can grab hold of a game and be a creative influence.
I think
there's no creative. I think we're missing a creative player.
I think Martial's the closest thing we have to it, which is a terrifying thought.
Yeah, it is really. I mean, if you look at the actual squad in general, in my opinion only, there is only one player that's world class.
But who's our creative player? You look at all creative players. Who is he?
Our best creative player?
Yeah.
Juan Mata.
And Herrera also.
The thing is, Juan Mata, you do not win 2 players of the season at Chelsea for being a rubbish player. He's played out of position.
A player who needs a squad building round him, though.
Exactly. He
does need a squad. Yeah.
That's the problem we have. He does need a squad building round him. It is a very selfish thing to do. It is a luxury. But if you were to do that and you were to find the right balance, he would be pivotal for us.
Yeah.
But
don't disagree.
As a general question, do you see any world-class players other than, in my opinion, David De Gea in the whole squad for United? What you would define as world-class?
Currently, no.
Yeah,
No.
exactly, yeah.
Which is another terrifying
It's
thought.
worrying, isn't it? For a team that considers themselves to be world beaters, to be up there with the best.
The fact we rely on a 19-year-old French kid who is brilliant, don't get me wrong.
Says everything. When your taglines break expectations, we know that. So we're clearly not getting there, are we?
No,
absolutely.
But then again, that falls onto the argument: what world-class players are genuinely available for us to buy?
I don't think there's many out there, and I don't think. Well,
Griezmann, is he world-class? He's the closest thing in my eyes, but
Lewandowski's world-class.
Oh yeah, Lewandowski. But then again, we said last season we'd take him all day, big Lua, but we're not going to get him.
You're not going to get him. Joe, I'm going to end the segment and indeed the show for this week with the question number 5 for you, and also going out to the fans, and I think you'll enjoy this one. Try and get it in within the 30 seconds, though. Have Memphis and Wayne Rooney been scapegoats for recent poor United performances, Joe?
I'll just sit back and
I did thank him for this question before it. Maybe less so Memphis, but more so Rooney. That's what I'd say. I think Memphis, you can justify taking him out of the squad because purely he's new talent, and we should give him some time out of the limelight. Give myself half left. Rooney, I think that he's got a lot of pressure on him to perform because he's the captain, he's the leader of the squad. So when the whole squad's not performing, who are you going to look at? The leader in the squad. And I think that we're looking at Rooney just a tad too much.
And maybe, Joe, this injury that we're hearing, this mysterious England injury that's seen him miss 3 days of training now, could mean that he might miss the Everton game, which might not, for Wayne Rooney, be the worst thing in the world at the moment, because Wayne Rooney, as we found out in the documentary, and we all knew it anyway, is still a Blue. He's still an Evertonian at heart. And I think if he has got a bit of a knock or a niggle or whatever it is, with the form he's been in, going back to Everton, a club he loves, under pressure, being booed by the fans, being under pressure from his own fans, this might be the best time to get Wayne Rooney out of the squad for one game and just see how it goes without him.
Maybe.
There you go.
It's a tough one, but I don't see Rooney. We know is a professional, and I don't think that putting him in the squad, I don't think he would ever not put a performance in for us purely because he's playing against the team he loves. And we can't argue that he loves his team. That's fair enough. That's where he's from. That's his roots of football. It's like if you were playing for Everton, you'd still love United.
Of course you would.
So, but you'd still play a good game, and I don't think it would be. It's not fair to say that he wouldn't put a good performance in.
I think it'd be a blessing in disguise, personally.
He's been put under immense pressure as it is.
I think
he has been known to underperform at Goodison against Everton.
I'd hope that Van Gaal doesn't play Memphis and Rooney against Everton. I hope that he rests both of them. Have them on the bench at least.
Let us know your opinions on that, please, on Twitter. We're at WeFollowUnited. We'll also, as I say, put that question in the comments section below for you to answer. That's, has Memphis and Rooney become scapegoats for recent poor United's performances? Be very interested to hear on that. That's all that we've got time for this week's show. What you will hear from us, though, next Thursday will be a weekend preview show. So we'll put together our ideas on predictions for the starting 11, what we want to see. You'll also hear our score predictions, and we'll put that out on Twitter as well, so please get involved with your opinions on that, as we have a Premier League Predictor League running, which you can become part of. But that's all for tonight's show. It's been rampant, it's been feisty in parts, and it's been full of great opinions from everyone involved. Our thanks to Joggy, who joined us over the phone. Thanks also to producer Joe for getting so involved, as he always does. To Nick to my left for his involvement and great opinion as always.
Thank you.
And from me to you, the fans, thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next week.